Tom Cruise doesn't exactly have a reputation as the sanest man in Hollywood. Even discounting all that Scientology shit, he still shows a complete and utter disregard for his own safety and well-being. For example, consider that time while making Mission Impossible 2, Tom Cruise asked a stuntman to stab him right in the eye. It's pretty well known that in most of the movies he appears in, Tom Cruise insists on doing all of his own stunts. Which is fine, because a lot of actors do that. What's less well known though is that Tom Cruise will often suggest doing more dangerous versions of suggested stunts to make them look more realistic, and possibly because he's batshit insane.
So do you have an example of one of these stunts he wanted to be done a bit more extreme?
Yes, I do. During the filming of Mission Impossible 2, there was a scene that called for Tom Cruise's character to have a sick-ass knife fight. And while looking over the storyboards for that scene, Tom Cruise made a suggestion to director John Woo and said, maybe it'd be cooler if, during this fight scene, like the guy nearly stabbed me in the eye. To be fair to Tom Cruise, as insane as that suggestion was, it did end up looking pretty badass and is now one of the most iconic moments in the entire Mission Impossible franchise. Because this is a movie directed by John Woo, the suggestion of having someone nearly stab Tom Cruise right in the eye was of course written immediately into the scene. However, Tom Cruise, the impatient arsehole that he is, didn't want to dick around with CGI and instead suggested they do the stunt for real.
But Tom said, hey, how about just right into my eyes? You know, I said, no, Tom, it's very, very dangerous. No, I'm okay, I'm fine, you know, just use the real knife.
So they didn't use any compositing or CG for that shot?
No, it's 100% real. That shot shows a real knife being wielded by a stuntman that is actually trying to stab the Tom Cruise in his actual eyeball.
The knife literally was probably a quarter inch from Tom's eyeball. I mean, so if he sit up or move or twitch, there's a lot of maybes that makes it an interesting shot to watch.
How did they do that without actually stabbing him then?
Well, what they did is they got a length of cable, attached it to one end of the knife, ran it up the sleeve of the stuntman, and then had it go at the back of his jacket and then anchored it to the floor a few feet back. They then measured exactly how far that knife could reach and then positioned Tom Cruise just about an inch away from where that is. If you watch that scene back, and you can put the clip in for the audience at home, you will see that the knife and the stuntman's arms are shaking during that scene. And that's because Tom Cruise told him, try and stab me as hard as you possibly can. And that's the stuntman actively trying to fight the cable to stab Tom Cruise in the face to make it look as realistic as possible. That's why when you see the knife and it's shaking an inch away from Tom Cruise's eye, that's the stuntman trying to break the fucking cable to pull it off.
But you can see the end of the blade tickling his eyelashes, it's that close.
That's how close it goes. You can't CGI that kind of fear. Something I feel I need to point out as well is that that was a real knife that was really, really, really sharp that Tom Cruise insisted upon using on for maximum realism.
Why would you insist on using a real knife?
What? The other thing you know about Tom Cruise, Brad, why would he not insist on using a real knife? This is a man who looked at storyboards choreographing a fight scene between his character and a guy with a knife and thought to himself, how do I make this more dangerous for me? This is a guy who then suggested to the director, how about we put in an awesome shot of a knife bristling my eyelashes? And then when the director said, oh, I don't think we can CGI that, I said, oh, no, it's fine. Use a real knife, I'm sure you can make it work. And then, when they anchored the cable to the ground and then positioned his own head an inch away from a real knife, told the stuntman, okay, now try as hard as you possibly can to stab me in the eye.
It really wouldn't surprise me if Tom Cruise got pissed off when he found out they put a cable in for safety.
I bet that they never told him, and in his own mind, he did that stunt for real. And that after they'd finished filming, it's like, did you see, guys? Did you see how strong I was? Did you see how I held that knife off? I'm like, oh, Tom, you've done it again. Go back to your trailer, you deserve a break. And then he's going like, you see the stuntman like desperately trying to get the cable out of his shirt.
Do you reckon Tom Cruise was watching the behind the scenes stuff and saw them doing this cable? He was like, oh, well done CGI that in for guys. So the people outside don't know how real it was.
They don't know about my ghost powers. The thing is, Tom Cruise is well known for doing this. Like in Mission Impossible 2 again, do you know the opening of the film, like the free climbing up the face of a mountain part? That also wasn't in the script. Tom Cruise suggested doing that just because he wanted to try it. And he also did it for real without safety equipment.
The scary thing was the cliff was 2,000 feet high, and there was no protection on the ground.
Surely there must have been at least some kind of precaution.
There was marginal safety equipment.
Because if you were filming that film and you wouldn't want your star to die in the first few minutes of shooting.
But at the same time, Tom Cruise has got the kind of star power where he can make those demands, and people just have to satisfy him. Because like, you want Tom Cruise in your movie, and Tom Cruise wants to go free climbing.
How much do you reckon he was insured for that film?
Too much, probably. But yeah, Tom Cruise, it was like the latest Mission Impossible one, the Rogue Nation, where he's hanging on the side of the plane. That was also real, and they showed behind the scenes footage of the real Tom Cruise strapped to the outside of a plane. I think there was safety equipment hidden through jacket and stuff, weren't there? But that's actually the real Tom Cruise hanging on a real plane that's really flying through the air. And they said, we could have got a stuntman in. And Tom Cruise was like, what do you mean, a stuntman? What is a stuntman? Like, Tom Cruise got his own version of a dictionary that doesn't have that word in it.
Do you reckon so many action stars are tall, they don't have a stuntman who's 5'7"?
That might be it. The guy's insane, but at the same time, you have to admire the commitment he has to his stunt work. Like, one of my favourite stories about Tom Cruise is that in every Tom Cruise movie, even now that he's in his 50s, they always have the scene where Tom Cruise takes his shirt off. And do you know how he gets like so toned and so ripped?
How?
Like, according to like a behind the scenes like snippet from someone who works on one of his movies, he has a jacuzzi full of ice. That what he does is before he does any shirtless scene, he goes and sits in that for about 10 minutes to contract all his muscles and skin so he looks more ripped. Like, Tom Cruise is ridiculously committed to like just always being a badass in all of his movies. It's kind of commendable how much effort he puts in as a 55-year-old man, I think, at this point.
What's your favourite Mission Impossible stunt that Tom Cruise did for real?
I think it's the one from Mission Impossible 3, like the really trailer bait shot where he's running away from a missile explosion and gets blown into the side of a car, because Tom Cruise insisted upon doing that scene 7 fucking times.
What? Why?
Because it didn't look painful enough the first time he did it. So I'd like to remind everybody, like, Tom Cruise, a 44-year-old man at the time this movie was being made, insisted upon doing this stunt 7 fucking times because he didn't look painful enough the first time he did it.
I mean, I imagine by the 7th one, it was the most painful of them all.
Probably, yeah. The thing that gets me is like, there's the old joke, isn't there, of like Tom Cruise runs in every movie. One of the reasons he wanted to keep doing that scene over and over again is because in addition to it not looking realistic enough when he got slammed into the side of that car, he also wanted to be running at max speed when it happened. And in the behind the scenes footage, it's like they're letting a dog off a lead, where you just say, go, you see Tom Cruise just leg it and they get slammed into a thing.
So I know that I have to run at a full speed, and I just have to get out of my mind that anything's gonna happen.
It's like when I used to take my old dog to the farmer's field and let him off his lead, and you see, bomb off at 100 miles an hour, it's like, yeah. And it's like, that's what...
This was like to own
That's
Tom
what it was
Cruise.
like with Tom Cruise. It's like, go on, Tom, go on. Boom. And it's like, did you have fun? He's like, yeah. Can we do it again? It's like, we've already got the take, and I bet they didn't have any footage in for like, they probably did it about 20 times. But they said 7 because they only filmed it 7 times. They probably brought him back in after they'd finished shooting to let him do it again, just because he liked running so much. So I think the best example of that is Vanilla Sky, where they shut down all of like central New York just so he could get that shot of him running through the center of like an empty New York. And to me, that just was like Tom Cruise going, I really want to go for a run. I bet he picks movies based on how much he can run. Because that's the one that gets you, like, they shut down all of New York just so Tom Cruise could go for a jog. Just because he wanted to run really, really fast. And that's why I like the thing of, it's like letting Tom Cruise, he's like a dog just being let off its lead. You know what? Fuck it, Brad. You've done it before.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
I know it's a bit more effort, but please, just find, like, put a dog head on Tom Cruise for the bit where he's running and gets hit by that missile. That's what he's doing, just letting a dog off a lead. Oh. If I didn't know any better, I'd say that Tom Cruise is a masochist who likes being hurt. But we all know what the truth is, and that truth is that Tom Cruise has no corporeal form that can succumb to earthly damage or harm. It's fairly well known by now that Tom Cruise is a crazy, egomaniacal asshole. Yeah, that's all right. I'm just actually going to script. Is there anything else? No, there's no defence. He's just an egomaniacal asshole with image issues, I should add. The latter of which Cruise has tried to address by appearing in dozens of movies over the years where he gets to pretend to have a massive penis. Perhaps the finest example of Cruise ego stroking came in 2017, where he basically rewrote the entirety of The Mummy to make it all about him.
So that movie sucked because Tom Cruise made it all about him.
Basically, yes, and there is a great breakdown by Variety where they pinpoint the moment Tom Cruise got involved with production as the moment it all started to go downhill. Because, believe it or not, before Tom Cruise's involvement, the Mummy movie was going to be about the Mummy.
So what was different about the early draft of The Mummy?
Well, Tom Cruise's eventual character, Nick Morton, in the original script for the movie had roughly equal screen time with, the Mummy, which makes sense. Obviously, they both have an arc that way, but that changed when Tom Cruise got involved and thought to himself, well, what does this movie about a mummy need more of? That's why it's Tom Cruise, isn't it? And he just basically put more Tom Cruise in the movie.
I get that Tom Cruise is a huge star.
Yeah, the man's box office dynamite.
What I don't get is why you would give so much power to one of your actors.
Because he agreed that in return for appearing in the movie at a much lower rate than his usual astronomical fee, he'd be given absolute creative control over every aspect of production, and also have the option to appear in any spin-offs. And it's like, well, fuck yeah, because he wants to use the movie as a jumping off point for our own cinematic universe, called the Dark Universe, which me and Brad have shit on in the past many times, but suffice to say, it didn't fucking go anywhere.
So what was it that Tom Cruise did that killed the movie?
Well, he didn't kill the movie, Brad. He killed the entire cinematic universe. Even Thanos could only kill half of one. Tom Cruise did it in one fucking fell swoop by being a huge asshole. And it's noted that from before the ink on his signature on the contract had even dried, he began work to turn The Mummy into a by-the-numbers Tom Cruise action flick.
So what did he do then?
Well, according to the people unfortunate enough to have this bloated, fetid turd of a movie on their IMDb page, he just micromanaged every aspect of production to such an extent the director of the movie would sometimes stand there awkwardly just watching everything unfold as Tom Cruise in full costume barked orders to the cast and crew.
So he basically replaced the director without actually replacing the director?
No, the director was there, in spirit, basically. He was there for moral support.
He was there getting Tom Cruise tea.
He was there for moral support more than anything. And in addition to replacing the director, he also brought in his own team of script writers who went through the movie and made it more about him, which is why I'm presuming there were a lot of shots in that movie that make Tom Cruise look good. The most egregious being the one where he takes his shirt off and multiple female characters go, oh my, look at that man. Look at this sparkling Adonis of a human being, because that's what people want to see in a movie starring one of the hottest women on the fucking planet.
Oh my God, Nick.
Jen.
So in a movie starring like Sofia Boutella, do you know what I want to see? I want to see Tom Cruise's saggy 56-year-old man abs. That's what I signed on to see. If they'd have just remade the Brendan Fraser Mummy movies and just changed all the actors, I'd have been okay with that. Just because I want to see Sophie Patella just ham it the fuck up.
There's only one scene of her in that entire movie as an actual mummy. She basically absorbs those guys working on the site, and that's it. From that point onwards, she's just mummy woman, but with the occasional bandage hanging off her wrist.
Compared to the actor who played the mummy in the Brendan Fraser movies, who walked around fucking half skeletonized in part of those fucking things.
Half that film or more to get his body parts back.
So what you're saying is he had an arc? Yeah, that's what he did. But this one didn't, because obviously Tom Cruise excised that from the script in favour of one that made his own character look good.
I'll give a little bit of credit to him though. He clearly did get in shape.
Well, he does, yeah.
He does look like he's a very good.
Well, he does. That's for his own ego.
Very in shape for his over 50-year-old body.
It's impressive, but you have to remember that scene wasn't in the original script. It was, however, in the script Tom Cruise himself had written.
So what else did the script writers that Cruise brought in do to the original script?
They made it more about him for a start and gave his character a more fleshed out arc that made him look better at the expense of obviously the mummy's arc, which doesn't really make sense in the movie title, the fucking mummy, but whatever. But I think the most petty thing they did is at several points in the script refer to Tom Cruise's character, Nick Morton, as a young man. Because if you think about it, there's no actual reason for that descriptor to be in the script, because at the time it was being written, they knew who the character was being played by. Tom Cruise, a 56-year-old man.
You are a younger man, but you'd best learn to be wary of a man like me.
And he was the only person with veto power over any details in it.
So that line from Russell Crowe about him being a young man,
Yeah.
was that Tom Cruise?
Yeah, that's not Tom Cruise, that was Tom Cruise's script writers.
It was Tom.
Yes, it was. Of course it was fucking Tom Cruise. But, like,
Maybe not inadvertently, but they knew.
I don't think anything sums up how egomaniacal and petty Tom Cruise was. That not only did he have that line put into the movie, he had the script that people were reading refer to him several times as a young man. Understandably, and partly as a result of all of Tom Cruise's executive level meddling, the film flopped. And now we don't have a dark universe. We feel it's safe to say that over the years, Tom Cruise has forged a reputation as a crazy masochistic asshole with the things that he makes himself do in his movies. A noted perfectionist, Tom Cruise's dedication to performing his roles exactly the way they're written in the script is such that he will actively train his body to go against its own instincts just to learn random skills.
So I've noticed on this channel you've talked about Tom Cruise quite often.
Yeah, because the guy's crazy and there's just so much interesting stuff about his life. And in specific regards to today's topic, people may not be familiar with like the hellacious assault Tom Cruise, like, you know, subjects his body to every time he makes a movie, because you think, well, the guy's like one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. Like, would he really need to risk life and limb? And the answer is, yes, he fucking does, because Tom Cruise is just that insane. And we've discussed before, like, the Mission Impossible movies, and the stuff that he does in them just because either he wants to or he thinks it looks cool. And the best example of this is the free climbing segment at the start of Mission Impossible 2, which wasn't in the original script and was something suggested by Tom Cruise just because he thought it was rad and wanted to try it.
Isn't there also a moment where he climbs the tallest building in the world?
Yeah, Burj Khalifa, where he climbs on it without any like harnesses or anything, he has like rubber gloves on and just climbs along the side of it. And the best part about that is, that's not even the craziest thing he did, because while they were setting up for that scene, Tom Cruise asked the helicopter pilot they had, do you mind just taking me up to the top? And they're like, yeah, I guess. So they flew Tom Cruise all the way up to the top of Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, and just sat him right on the very top without any safety harnesses and took a photo of him. And that to me is like, that's the Tinder profile picture of it. Like that, if you had that, you win. That's the one, it's so good. And that's not even in the movie. He just did that in between shots because he wanted to go to the top and see what it was like.
That's pretty cool.
And just climbed out of a helicopter and sat on top of the tallest building in the world and went, cool. While a helicopter is like 10 feet away blowing air onto him. And that in of itself is ridiculous. But he also suffers horrendous fucking injuries on these films. Like the latest Mission Impossible movie, Tom Cruise snapped his ankle completely in half. And there'll presumably be a clip of this and Tom Cruise discussing it. And so, warning for the squeamish.
Now watch that. Watch this.
And I can see you cringing, Nisha, so do you want me to make it worse?
No.
This stunt required him to jump across a gap, and the script called for him to not make the jump and, like, you know, land like the traditional action hero way of like edge of the building, climb up.
Yeah.
The problem was Tom Cruise snapped his ankle when he did that because he put his foot against the wall, full weight hit it, ankle breaks it. But Tom Cruise said, I knew I broke my ankle, but we needed to get the shot. So do you know what he did?
So he just carried on.
He climbed up and he ran on a broken ankle and then went off set and got it patched up and just told the guy, yeah, my ankle's broke.
Up he gets, and he's running.
Well, think about that for a moment. Like, this isn't Tom Cruise at the start of his career. This is Tom Cruise when he's like a 50-odd-year-old
he's
man.
middle-aged now.
But middle-aged? He's old. He's like the most, but also the most famous man on the planet. Broke his ankle doing a stunt he realistically should not have had to do if he didn't want to, because he could have got a stuntman in.
Yeah.
And then ran on the broken ankle because he didn't want to mess up the shot. And this is like, you know, there are countless stories like this. Say what you want about Tom Cruise, the guy puts the fucking effort in. Tom Cruise reminds me of Nick Cage in a way, where he always puts the maximum amount of effort into the role, even if he doesn't really need to.
Yeah. Well, that just shows how passionate they are about
The roles, yeah.
The roles and just getting into filming. It's great, really.
And we've discussed before how like Tom Cruise can be a little bit too passionate, and he he will turn movies into Tom Cruise movies instead of
The Mummy.
Yes, and that is a valid criticism, but I can't help but like him just for like the dedication he shows. I think one more thing we could talk about that I think just showcases how fucking ridiculous he is again in one of the Mission Impossible movies. There's a big underwater scene that lasts for about 5 to 6 minutes. And for that scene, Tom Cruise learned to hold his breath for 6 minutes. So he learned to hold his breath as long as those like solo free divers that go under the water. Yeah. He learned to do that just because he wanted to make the shot good. Like they could have edited around it, they could have got a stuntman in, they could have just not done it in a single take. But no, he's like, no, do it in one take because that's what people expect when they come see a Mission Impossible movie. They expect to see us top the shit we did in the last one.
Yeah.
So I guess I've got to drown. I guess I've got to learn how to just fight Poseidon.
That's dedication.
It is, it's so stupid.
So I think one of the main questions here is, why is he doing this?
Yeah, because I'm guessing that's a question a lot of people have I get it, it's cool, but why? Yeah. Why is he learning to hold his breath for 6 minutes? Why is he strapping himself to the outside of a plane? Why is he insisting on dozens of takes for things where he's actively putting himself at risk? And the answer is because it helps Tom Cruise concentrate, because in his own words, he was almost functionally illiterate as a child due to dyslexia. And one of the few things he found that would help him overcome this was to just completely and utterly focus himself on a single task, something which has evidently carried over to his acting. And there is a term for this that has been coined by people who know Tom Cruise and others in the industry, and it is cruise control. And people who would know more about this than us have said that it is like watching a switch go off in his mind. Because he'll just be stood there, to be Tom Cruise, happy-go-lucky guy, saying hi to everyone, shaking everybody's hand, just being a generally nice and jovial person. And then bang! It's action time. It's time to become Ethan fucking Hunt. And he'll just sprint at 30 miles an hour and just get hit by a missile and get launched into the side of a car. And he'll stand up and he'll go over to the guys and go, good take guys, good take, and become Tom Cruise again. Okay, so it seems to me that he's got quite an obsessive sort of personality. Oh yeah, Tom Cruise does. And this, in addition to affecting the way he acts and his preparation for roles, affects his his day-to-day dealings, because anyone who's ever met Tom Cruise or has heard stories about people who have, they'll say he's the nicest man in Hollywood. He has this reputation as the nicest man in Hollywood because he will go above and beyond for his fans and for people who meet him. Yeah. To the point where there are stories that sound like they're made up from his co-stars. For example, Kirsten Dunst appeared in a movie with Tom Cruise years and years and years ago. I think Interview with a Vampire or something like that. Yeah. She says that 30 years later, my entire extended family, when we meet up for Christmas, we still get a cake from Tom Cruise. And a lot of news agencies pounced on this when she announced it in an interview. Yeah. So it's weird. And then a load of other actors came out and no, it's not. I've worked with Tom Cruise, I also get the Tom Cruise cake. It's just a thing. Is it a cake with his face on it? It's not. Apparently it's from a really, really upscale bakery. But if you've ever met Tom Cruise in any sort of professional capacity, chances are you will get a cake from him. Something he will do is he will take a day off from production to meet every single person making one of his movies, shake their hand, post photographs, and just say hello. Just they get a chance to meet him. I think George Clooney and Brad Pitt are two people who also do that. Okay, so bringing it back to Tom Cruise. Yes. We spoke about the stunts that he did himself, but you mentioned something about him learning skills for roles as well. Yeah, because his laser focus, his cruise control doesn't just mean that he focuses on stunts and being apparently a super nice guy to the production crew. It also extends to the skills that he has to learn for his movies. And for example, the film Cocktail, which involves Tom Cruise being a cocktail barman, which involves flaring, which was a new skill at the time. Tom Cruise learnt from a master of cocktail flaring, or flare bartending if you prefer, and got so good that the guy went, yeah, he's basically as good as I am right now. So yeah, this is Fact Fiend, so I'm assuming it gets a little bit more stupid. Of course, there's always that stupid twist, and the stupid twist here is that all the things I've just mentioned involve Tom Cruise performing flair bartending with his right hand, because his characters were right-handed. In real life, Tom Cruise is not right-handed, he's left-handed. So he learned how to do all these things all these incredibly difficult, hyper-specific skills with his bad hand. Now, just for a moment, Nisha, I'm just gonna. Have we got anything we can just throw? You got a bottle of water there. I'm just gonna try and catch a bottle of water with my left hand. Give that a go.
It's actually tied on. Yeah.
Actually, no, go on, throw it. I'll catch my right. Piece of piss, it's muscle memory, it's perfect. Now let's try it with my left hand. Tom Cruise learned how to cocktail flare with his bad fucking hand, and I can't catch a bottle of water I know's coming. How stupid is that?
It's ridiculous.
Think about that, cocktail flare is so difficult. I can barely do it, and I was on a bar for years. I can do a few street. He was filming a movie for about 3 months and became an expert on the subject.
It's I can't even catch stuff with my good hand, so...
He actively taught himself to act against his own body's instincts because the characters he was playing were right-handed. So I think now he's technically classed as being ambidextrous, but he wasn't born ambidextrous. He just taught himself to be. And there's photos out there of him signing stuff with his left hand and then signing it with his right hand. Because obviously so many people ask him to set up his autograph.
He signs 2 in one go.
He probably could. I won't be surprised if he couldn't.
He's just do 2 autographs at once.
It's so stupid. God damn it, Tom Cruise, stop being such a don when it comes to all this shit. Tom Cruise is a man who takes great pride in his appearance and often includes at least one vanity shot of his admittedly impressive physique in each movie that he appears in. Perhaps the weirdest example of this is a single shot in the film Valkyrie, in which you can see Tom Cruise's giant slappable ass. A shot he insists contains absolutely no camera trickery or CGI. We're just going to get straight onto this. Whoever edits this video, please just put the picture of Tom Cruise's giant slappable ass behind me. And Nisha, if you will, discuss.
Oh God. Right, so I've never seen this film, so when I clicked on this article, so I was interested by the title. I was like, what's this about? That picture took me by surprise. I was like, what the fuck? That cannot be real.
That cannot be real, and we'll get to the reasons that it supposedly is 100% real. But I think first we have to discuss how this picture came about, because as I mentioned, it is a shot from the film Valkyrie, which was a historical drama film starring Tom Cruise about a real dude and a real plot that happened to try and assassinate Adolf Hitler. And the only reason this film is notable is because it's a film about a German plot to kill Hitler in Germany during World War II, starring Tom Cruise, in which Tom Cruise just speaks like Tom Cruise. He doesn't even try to affect a German accent, which is weird in of itself, but there are other actors in the film who are natively German, who speak with German accents. What do you think the reason is that Tom Cruise doesn't put on a German accent?
I'm gonna guess it's because he can't do one, and he doesn't want to embarrass himself.
Well, that's the rumoured reason why. The stated reason why from the director is that it'd be anachronistic if people spoke with a German accent, because that's not realistic. Because if it was true to life, they'd all speak German. And the way I like to describe it is that film is way more interesting if you imagine that Tom Cruise is just a really shit American spy, and everyone just feels sorry for him. Because he doesn't speak with a German fucking accent. And this film was largely forgotten because it wasn't that great. Right up until famed internet scholar I Love Butts 247, I'm not making this up, highlighted this single screenshot and posted it on Twitter, positing that for this single shot in Valkyrie, Tom Cruise wore a prosthetic ass. And looking at it, I'm scared of that ass.
That is not real. That cannot be a real ass.
It looks like if you put a picture of that ass up in front of Tom Cruise and asked him how many squats that he did, he'd just say yes.
Yeah.
Michelangelo's David doesn't have an ass that tight, and he's made of fucking marble. It looks like a fake ass. I'm just going to put it that. It's so ridiculous. And what I would like for the person who edits this video to do now is find that shot and just slow it right the fuck down and zoom in on the ass. There are characters in video games purposely designed for titillation who don't have asses that fantastic. The character 2B from the game Nier Automata springs to mind. Are you familiar with that game, Nisha?
No, I'm not sure about that one.
Okay, well, there's a character in that game, 2B, one of the characters you play as, who has the most ginormous, bootylicious, Beyonce-esque ass you have ever seen. And I'd say Tom Cruise gives her a run for the money. She's a robot. So she has a perfect robotically positioned ass, and Tom Cruise is competing with it. It's so ridiculous.
It also kind of reminds me, have you seen that film Robots?
Is that the film with Robin Williams in it?
Yeah, that's the one, yeah.
Yeah, I do know that film. Which bit are you on about?
I think they go to visit his aunt. I can't remember the character exactly, but she's got this massive robot booty, like massive. There's a scene where she turns around and literally knocks them over with her ass.
Well, what happened to your friend?
He's been rear-ended.
Well, that's apparently a really common trend in animated movies. I think it was another tweet, because I love Butts247, the renowned internet scholar, noticed this first on Twitter in a tweet that went viral very understandably. There was another tweet a while back from someone who just put, absolutely nobody, Pixar animators, I'ma give this mother a dump truck ass. Just every mum in a Pixar movie just has this giant fucking booty. It's crazy. It's like we talked about before, this was in Zootopia. The character Gazelle, portrayed by one Shakira, when she first saw the design dockets for Gazelle, went, character's fine, but where's the ass? Increase the size of the ass. I'm not going to play a character who does not have a giant slappable ass. And the animators toiled day and night to make Gazelle's ass just ginormous. And little did we know it was all based on Tom Cruise.
That was the first image. That is the image that started it all.
It's the greatest one. Of all the asses that are presumably behind me right now, good luck monetizing this on YouTube. Tom Cruise just stands out beyond all of us. It's the king ass. Put a crown on it.
So yeah, if this was any other actor, we could take it as a joke. But because it's Tom Cruise, you can kind of imagine him wanting to wear a fake ass. Because I know
you can. Yeah.
Like you said before, he has a thing about wanting to have an impressive appearance, and he wants to always look really good.
He always has the requisite Tom Cruise shirtless scene in near enough every movie he appears in these days.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because, fun fact, Tom Cruise has his own team of writers who he brings on every project and that he signs on to do to rewrite the movie to be more about him. And when you hear stories like that about Tom Cruise's ego, you can believe that maybe for that one shot he did wear a prosthetic ass. Because if it was any other actor, it'd just be it'd be something we'd mention in another video, but because it's Tom Cruise, it gets its own video. Because I can believe that man would do that, right? There are stories about he, before his shirtless scenes, he goes into an ice bath off screen to tighten his skin so his muscles look more pronounced. And he'll walk around with his shirt off on set all day just to show off his physique. It's fair enough, he works hard for it, but stories like that don't really gel well with giant slappable Tom Cruise ass. You can start to believe maybe it's prosthetic.
Yeah.
If he's insecure enough to have a script rewritten to refer to him, a 50-year-old man, as young, I can believe he'd also wear a prosthetic ass. And thanks to that tweet going viral, a writer and possibly a hero from Screen Rant managed to corner Tom Cruise and ask him about it.
So what happened in this interview with Screen Rant?
Well, Tom Cruise was asked if he was aware of that tweet, to which he responded, not really, because Tom Cruise doesn't really use the internet or use social media at all. And they showed him the image, which made him laugh. And after he finished laughing, he explained that, no, it's not prosthetics, it's all me.
It can't be, it's too round.
It's too round.
It's too round.
Nisha, this is a man who climbs to the top of Burj Khalifa and then people fly a helicopter next to him to take a photo of him. This is a man who strapped himself to the outside of a moving fucking jet. This is the same man who once sprinted on a broken ankle to get a good shot. Tom Cruise is fucking insane. He learned to cocktail flare with his bad hand. He learned how to fire a gun with his bad hand. He's insane, but at the same time, that is a very round ass. It's so round.
I'm gonna say, do you think when they were filming this scene, he said to the camera crew, make sure you get a good shot of that ass?
I don't know, because like I said, it was a throwaway shot in a film no one really gave a shit about, and it was a couple of years after it got released, just one random Twitter user who apparently really likes asses noticed it and started the rumour that Tom Cruise is wearing a prosthetic butt in this scene. And according to Mr. Cruise, who's I'm going to guess he's the authority on his own body, it's not a prosthetic. And also, according to him, not CGI. I would point out that no one prior to Tom Cruise mentioning it thought it was CGI. But now I'm starting to think that there is a secret kind of CGI I'm not aware of that can give people giant Tom Cruise asses. And I would sign a petition to have that put into every movie going forward. So as we've covered in painfully extensive detail before, Tom Cruise is a crazy person. And whilst it'd be almost impossible to top some of the balls out insane things I've already mentioned on the channel, I feel compelled to mention the time that Tom Cruise literally beat his head against the floor for an entire day to get one of the more iconic shots of his career. The shot I'm talking about is the one in the first Mission Impossible movie where he just falls down from the roof when he's ziplining.
Like, the shot, that must be up there with, like, the Neo dodging the bullets moment in terms of iconic, like, shots from around that time period. Like.
Yeah. There are things in Mission Impossible movies that are more insane, but just that shot is so good.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it probably like lifted the entire series up by itself, just that one scene.
Yeah, like I say, it is the trailer shot for that movie because it's so good and it's so iconic and it's just so visually interesting. Like, you know, the pure white room and then the setup of like you're not allowed to make any noise. Then you have like, what is it? The knife falls down at the end. Of the soundproof, like BAM!
And that's the thing is like, it's so hard for me to remember whether like moments are from Mission Impossible or from another thing because everyone ripped that fucking moment off.
Yeah, because that moment was so good. And that shot, as you might imagine, given the stuff we talked about in the intro, was accomplished for real without the use of camera trickery or stunt actors. Like that's actually Tom Cruise descending from the side, doing the world's first indoor halo jump. The problem is as we're about to talk about, it didn't exactly go to plan for the first couple of attempts. And you look at that scene, and as I say, it's not the most dramatically dangerous thing Tom Cruise has ever done.
No, you just think he's being lowered down slowly. Like, what could really go wrong other than like the cable cutting or something?
Yeah, and he was in a harness and he was strapped in. The problem was that very specifically they wanted a shot of the harness dropping all the way down and him doing that thing where you assume starfish mode. You know, that shot. And Tom Cruise wanted to do that for real. And he wanted it all to happen in one continuous take. The problem was that the harness was about here on his waist. And apparently Tom Cruise is top heavy because every time they tried to do that shot and he went out and he'd go into starfish mode, because the thing is he stops like that far off the ground. We can see it here, look. It's like there's barely any fucking room.
His face is like touching the ground nearly. Like.
The closer they are, like, you know, for the shot to work, you need that. But the problem was that every single time they dropped him down, like he was so top heavy that he would just tilt forward ever so slightly and whack his head on the floor. Every single time. And Tom Cruise, being a crazy person, wasn't bothered about smacking his head, he was bothered about messing up the shot.
Of course, yeah.
And every time he whacked his head on the floor, he'd demand they reset it back up so we could try again.
Because he wants to do it for real.
Because he wanted to do it properly, yeah. And
realistically, they could probably just cut before he touches the ground.
Yeah, they could, but he didn't want that because that's not the way he rolls apparently, and he said that I want to do it again. And eventually Brian De Palma took Cruise aside, look, we've got other stuff to film. We've got the rest of this scene to film. If we can't get this shot in the next time you do it, we're going to have to cut it and move on and just figure it out in editing.
Okay.
And Tom Cruise, okay, just give me a minute. And he decided to approach the scene as an equation that needed to be solved. And he realised that the reason he was tipping forward every time is that he apparently has a massive fuck-off head. So he needed to put some weight in his lower half. The problem is that the outfit he's wearing in that scene leaves very little to the imagination.
Yeah.
And if anyone wondered, well, couldn't they just move the harness? No, they couldn't move the harness because the costume was very specifically fitted to Tom Cruise. So what Tom Cruise did is he asked around the production crew of like anything they had that he could put into his shoes to weigh himself down. And eventually discovered that someone on set had about like 5-6 pounds in change.
Oh, okay.
So he filled his boots with pound coins. And that to me is hilarious for two reasons. One, because he's just putting pound coins in his shoes and it's Tom Cruise. And two, that means that Tom Cruise's top half is able to be counterbalanced by enough change to buy a Big Mac. He filled his shoes with those pound coins that I just mentioned, and he did the scene one more time and nailed it. And according to Tom Cruise, he was so fucking stressed in that moment, trying to not hit the floor, that he basically, I think he pulled near enough every muscle in his body trying to, because he tensed so much, and you can see it, and that's the shot that makes it the final. He's like, wouldn't it be great if in that moment he farted on way down and ruined the take anyway?
Hey everyone, I'm Brad, one of the editors. I made the compilation, so if you enjoyed it, then good. if you happen to be watching this video just after its release, you should be able to catch the Fact Fiend livestream, which is going to be happening 2 hours after this video goes live, which is 4 o'clock British time. For the livestream, we're going to be taking part in a science fiction themed tabletop RPG, where I will be running it as the GM, or DM if you play Dungeons & Dragons, and Karl, Nisha and Lucas will be the players. The big gimmick for this particular RPG is that whether or not they have a good time will depend on you, the viewers. If this seems like something that you would be interested in watching and taking part in, then the link will be in the description. It'll be in whichever corner I put it in, I can't remember which way around this is. And if they don't work, then just click on the Fact Fiend main page and it should be like right at the top, it'll say live streaming. But yeah, that's it from me, so hopefully I'll see you in the live stream. Or if you're watching this late, then tough luck. Bye.